Dan Illman, Mike Beer kicking off the late double on Whitney Saturday at Saratoga with race number 11, the Grade 2 Bowling Green. We're going 11 furlongs on the inner turf. Before we get to the analysis, let me remind you, head on over to drf.com/spa for the Saratoga handicapping shop, where you'll find PPs, picks, clock reports, betting strategies, and lots more. They're the must-have tools to win big at Saratoga. Here's the field for the Grade 2 Bowling Green, Mike. And taking a look at this field, I see names of horses that have burned me time and time again, probably most notably my good friend Channel Maker. Sadler's Joy's an old war horse that you can depend upon to give a good effort. And Cross Border is wheeling back on short notice for one of the hottest barns in the country.
Yeah, that's true. The 5 and the 6 are, the sort of the old guards of this division, Dan. They sort of have all the class in the race. I didn't necessarily think this was it wasn't a bad spot. I didn't think to maybe find a new shooter. I don't know who that new shooter would be.
Let's take a look at the Timeform US pace projector for this race. Michael Maker has the 1 Marzo. He has the 2 Cross Border. Both of those horses have a little bit of early speed. Timeform US believes Cross Border would make the lead. I think you and I have basically been screaming from the hilltops, just send Channel Maker. Just send him. Put him on the lead. He's probably more comfortable there. I'm not sure if he really has what it takes now to sit off a horse and pass him in the stretch. I'm starting to get a little bit tired of his act, but I think you have to at least use his best asset, and that's his speed.
Listen, I wouldn't mind seeing them try to make the lead. I almost feel like when I watched the Manhattan last time, like that might have been what Manny Franco had in mind to try to make the lead in there. Ultimately, it was Cross Border who got to the front ahead of him. I sort of felt like that might happen again in this race, but you know that I agree with you, Dan. If I had Channel Maker, I would just tell Franco to try to make the top.
Marzo, the typical Michael Maker MO, claimed for 62.5. He's now a graded stakes winner. He didn't fire last time out in the Muniz Memorial, but he was up close to the pace in a very live race. He was chasing Factor This, who's just in the midst of a big run right now. Factor This came out of that race to win the Wise Dan, a grade 2 with a 99 buyer. Instilled Regard was in that race. That was a good field that Marzo was facing, and I guess stretching out to this distance is very good for him. He can work out a good trip. I'm not sure he's the most reliable horse in the world, but on his best day, he can contend.
Yeah, I think he can too. Ultimately, I'm still wondering if he's actually good enough to beat this field. When Maker first claimed him, I thought for sure that he was. I liked his first 2 starts for Maker quite a bit. He had a little bit of a trip in the Red Smith too. After that, his races aren't quite as good. I'm torn between just saying he's the right horse to take a shot with in here and saying, you know what, he's just not quite good enough.
Someone told Maker that they were giving away money at Saratoga on July the 22nd, and Maker entered Cross Border and took advantage in the $79,000 Lubash Stakes. He's odds on here, and he's going to make it 4 for 4 at the Spa. We watched Cross Border, and he just sat a nice spot off of the lead. This is basically a workout. You can understand why Maker's wheeling back in 10 days, and the extra distance of the Bowling Green, it's not going to be an issue. This horse handles 1 3/8 miles just fine.
Yeah, that's one thing you'd never have to worry about with Cross Border is distance. He's won races over just about every distance that they run turf races over, 7, 8, 8.5, 9, 11. It doesn't matter to him. I do think he can get to the front in this race, Dan. And I'll tell you what, if he gets to the front and they don't pressure him, he'll be very hard to run down. I know it's only 10 days since the Lubash, but that was, as you said, that was basically a public workout.
Highland Sky has not won a race on turf in over 2 years. He's still, though, competing and doing okay, running an open company in the Sunshine Forever. He didn't do much in his seasonal debut. The Tiller, a little bit of a better performance. Maybe he's slowly rounding back into form for Barclay Tag, and I like him stretching out a bit. But we talk about horses in this race not being very reliable. Highland Sky was a very good 3-year-old that didn't go on with it.
Yeah, that's true. He was a really good 3-year-old. You know what? Even when you go back and look at his 3-year-old form, Dan, it was more about the close losses than it was about the big wins for him. And that's just sort of been a theme throughout his career. He shows up, he runs every single time. He very rarely wins.
Dot Matrix scored in the John B. Connolly, a graded stakes race at Sam Houston to kick off his 7-year-old campaign. I've always felt he was more effective in the listed company ranks, maybe against New York breds. He ran okay in the Tiller. The horse he's chasing is very, very sharp. And the Manhattan, though, might have just been a little bit tough. He has a little bit more tactical speed than what he's shown. And I wonder if Joel Rosario is going to utilize it.
Yeah, I think he can get a good trip in this race. They really should try to put him into the race early in here and see what happens. He didn't run great in the Manhattan last time, but I guess that was just too tough for him. I'll be honest, Dan, prior to that, when they first started stretching him out, I did not think he wanted any part of longer distances. I guess I'm wrong about that. He's actually run okay going longer, and he could get a good trip in this race.
For a horse that's burned me time and again, Channel Maker's had a pretty good career. $2.1 million in the bank. He won the Bowling Green in 2018. He won the Joe Hirsch Turf Classic in 2018. He won the Grade 1 Man of War last year. And in the Manhattan last time out, he got up close to the pace. And turning into the stretch, it looked like he was in with a big look. And he just had such a whale of a time getting by Cross Border. He's on the outside in the pink. Cross Border's down towards the inside. He'll get by him just in the shadow of the wire, but just by a little tiny bit. And on the far outside, here comes Sadler's Joy, who might have been pace compromised. He's a one-run closer, but he came 4 wide on the turn, 6 wide in the stretch, and you can understand him flattening out just a little bit. Sadler's Joy kind of ran his A game in that race.
Yeah, he ran well in there. Listen, Channel Maker did, the best that he could do, I guess, at this stage of the game, Dan. I thought all in all, even though he couldn't clear, they gave him the right trip in that race. He just could not get by Cross Border. It just sort of feels like he's lost a step or a step and a half lately, and that's really working against him here. We'll see if he can take a step forward. As far as Sadler's Joy goes, I thought he ran fine in that race. You saw in the replay there, down past mid-stretch, he was actually ahead of Instilled Regard. He got by him, and then he just couldn't quite finish it. I thought he ran well, though. He's just one of those horses who the wins are getting harder and harder to come by, but he still shows up.
That's the thing. You know what you're going to get. It's usually a rock-solid effort from Sadler's Joy. You asked in the open who the new face is, and I think the new face, if there's going to be a new face, is Pillar Mountain. The problem with Pillar Mountain is his running style. He and Sadler's Joy are going to be hovering near the back of the pack, and Sadler's Joy right now is just the better closer. But Pillar Mountain still has all of the upside, and I really like the way he won at Saratoga last year, and now winners of 2 other then, going 1 3/8 on the inner. I think he hinted at some ability in that race. And talk about a tough race to make a comeback. That was his seasonal debut at Belmont, where he caught Breaking the Rules, who came back to win with 100 Buyer, and Digital Age, who came back to win with a 97. Pillar Mountain, the fact that Todd's in here, is a very good sign.
Yeah, it is. They tried to bump him up in class last year after that big win over this distance in the allowance race. And, that was probably a tougher spot. Sadler's Joy was in there, obviously, but so was Annals of Time. You could tell, at least at that point, he was not ready for that kind of race. He was absolutely no match for those horses. Maybe he'll be a better match this year, Dan. I don't know how much more upside he has. He's 5 years old already. He has 0 speed. I mean, Sadler's Joy is going to be off the pace in this race. This horse is going to be behind him.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The running style is going to work against him, especially when you have a similar running style as a more accomplished and likely better horse. But I do think he has some upside if you're looking for a fresh face. Let's take a look at our top selections for the Bowling Green. I'm a glutton for punishment. You don't even need to put this up. The fans know who I'm going with. And it's my son, Channel Maker. And I just want to I'd love him for the precious passion this field, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. I think probably I'm settling for a similar trip in the Manhattan, and I'm hoping he stays 1 3/8.
Yeah, I think he'll stay it. We'll see if he can, maybe just find that one extra gear at the end that he hasn't been able to find lately. I just don't know that he has that kind of speed anymore, Dan. Maybe he does. We'll see. I had Marzo on top. I started looking at this card yesterday. I had Marzo on top all last night. I had him on top this morning still when I went through the race again. And then I ultimately talked myself off him and put Sadler's Joy up there. But they were the 2 main horses for me.
Mike's going to lean 6 and 1. I'm going to lean 5 and 6, the old class masters of this division. They'll be my 2 keys in here. 5, 6, 4, 3 for me, 6, 1, 2, 7 for Mike, and the Grade 2 Bowling Green. It is kicking off the late double at Saratoga on Whitney Saturday. Good luck.